And welcome back, everyone, to the Zanpakuto Creation Series. Today's Zanpakuto Creation Series request comes to us from Obito Uchiha, who asked the question, what is the Lizards, aka Kurt Connor's Zanpakuto? And I say that because I have to emphasize it is Kurt Connor, because doing the Lizard means you're actually doing Kurt Connor's Zanpakuto, because that is who the Lizard is. There's been a couple variants where it's actually been like Peter Parker or someone, but the main Lizard we know is Kurt Connor's. But now the question becomes, does turning into the Lizard, does the experiment that changed his life alter his Zanpakuto in any way if he had one? Well, first and foremost, what kind of Zanpakuto does he have? I think he has a keto type Zanpakuto. He's a very intelligent man, scientist, usually that has higher intellect, more cunning, things along those lines, leans the individual towards a keto type usually. Individuals who are a little bit more straightforward, a little bit more gruff, maybe not the most intelligent, usually have either a melee type or a melee with a kind of keto-esque ability. Ichigo's is a perfect example where he's certainly not dumb, but he's not really a keto type. It just happens to have kind of an attack that's sort of keto-esque. So keto type, standard katana, nothing out of the ordinary there. Its release, I think, is Graft. And its name and appearance has probably changed with the Lizard transformation. What it did is probably still roughly the same, because Kurt's life goal was to heal people, particularly because he lost his arm in a war. And so one of the goals he ultimately had was to try to regrow his own arm. So the release would be Graft. Its Shikai name unoriginally would be Lizard, or Tokage. Its Bankai, though, would be Lizard who eats the world, or Sekai o Toberu Tokage. And again, Google Translate. I don't have the best translating skills. That's what I'm using. Its sealed form, again, it's a spirit, would be probably a little kid, or like a little lizard boy who in Bankai turns into this giant dinosaur monster. What does the Shikai look like, though? Well, I think the Shikai takes the form of a whip. Not something, though, akin to, say, Zabamaru, like a whip blade. Now, this is an actual whip. A very thick, lined with metal whip, but a whip. Except on the end of the whip, the tip of the whip, where it is barbed to the point where if it sticks into something, and literally pulls a chunk of whatever it's stuck into out. So if it hits a chunk of earth, pulls a chunk of rock. If it hits someone's arm, pulls that arm off. Like, hypothetically, it could tear off anything with enough force and power. Again, Shinigami bows Ryatsu. If he's like trying to attack, say, like Kenpachi, who's a giant wall of power, that's probably not going to work. Yami, someone that large, unless his spiritual power is equal to that, you're not going to be able to take his whole arm off, but you might take a chunk out of him. Point being, powerful individuals would neg the ability. But the ability isn't to rip things off. That's engages the ability. What it does is what its release actually says. It grafts on the material to give you pseudo limbs or increase the power of your limbs. Case in point, if he were to suddenly snag onto a giant thing of rock, or a giant like skyscraper, or pillars of metal, he could graft it, and his Ryatsu, the Ryatsu of his blade or his whip combines kind of like almost like a magnetic pull to Ryatsu on his body, and it forms into a limb. In this case, he would still be a guy missing his limb. He can form an arm in battle that's as tough as the substance he's chosen, plus enforcement with Ryatsu for a little bit more heft. But beyond that, he can also graft armor onto him if he needs to. He can graft even more on, like, say he grafts the arm of, let's say, I don't know, steel, and then he grafts more onto it. He can graft shapes on there. It'd be kind of a cool ability. The only catch-22 is he has to repeatedly use the tip of his blade to do it, or his whip again, to do it. He has to snap, pull, or snap, grab, pull. Or if he just uses it in close range, suddenly just grabs on something with a, like if he holds the barb with just his hand of the whip, and he just smacks something, pulls it, he could circumvent it, but he still needs to grab and pull. So it is a hindrance of this blade, of this whip, to be sure, this Shikai. Its Bankai, though, basically goes kaiju mode. He would, instead of like snapping and latching the whip onto a certain item or substance, he snaps it and latches onto himself, and then it goes Bankai. And he basically creates this giant monster kaiju lizard dinosaur thing made from the surroundings, pulling it all together, held by his Ryatsu. The problem is it's kind of a Kenpachi scenario. Not as bad, though. He's still kind of there compared to Kenpachi, at least when he first activated his Bankai. We'll see in the Hell Arc, hopefully, if he ever got control over that. But it's more, he goes a lot more primal, instinctual, and visceral, and he grows into this giant monster that it's composed of his Ryatsu holding all these things together. So it's kind of like a combination of Tekken, Kokujo Tengen Myoi, Sajin's Bankai. It's kind of a combination of that, and I'm trying to think of another good comparison, honestly. I don't think we have anything that really kind of grafts things together in Bleach at this time, so I can't think of one that's a good comparison to that. The closest I can think of would be something like Hitsugai's, where he is wearing his Zanpakuto, more or less, but not. You're more or less operating a giant kaiju is what you're doing. Still, though, it's got its weaknesses, particularly in the fact that there's just certain substances this thing would not be able to graft. It can't graft items without form. So air, fire, lightning, water. It can't take these substances. Ice has mass, so the item in question he would be grafting onto him needs mass. Even if you were to try to like mold his Ryatsu in it, there's just nothing for it to latch onto in time. Those objects are too fluid. Also, his Bankai can just be completely overpowered and overwhelmed. It has no real range per se. Hypothetically, it could throw portions of itself at opponents and then just kind of reform them, but it's still not designed for that. It's kind of like Renji's Zabimaru's ability, where the broken pieces can kind of attack. It just can't do much after it. It has to spend time reforming. And like I said before, this Bankai does rob the individual of a little bit of their humanity and common sense. They go a lot more rage mode. So it's not perfect. Still, I think it's a good Zanpakuto for someone like this who is very intelligent and wanted to help, and that translates into the wanting to heal people, if not only temporarily. So that's my opinion, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Thanks for watching. I got a Who Would Win to do. See you later.